Hey everybody, Randy Wild here with Module 11, EDL856. This is a new rule for parent organizations. Um, and kind of a summary of this case study, there was a new parent group formed, and we were obviously missing a lot of background information because there was no details about why it was formed. You can kind of infer some of it as you go. There was a lack of communication between the principal and the parents. The parents just weren't satisfied on the level of involvement that they were being given by the school as far as input on academics, teachers, programs, procedures, policies, communication with the principal, and visibility. So they left a PTA affiliation, formed their own group because they wanted this more increased level of involvement. So they elected new leaders, a president, and they set up a meeting with the principal. So there was just a disconnect, you could tell, in communication. There wasn't an open, positive two-way relationship. And these parents wanted a lot of involvement on the back to school night is where this started. But then once you get to the meeting, there was conversations that came up about being involved in teacher evaluation, admin evaluation, school policy. There was a whole slew of issues that came up in this meeting when the principal tried talking to the group president. So when that conversation got started on all those aspects of the school that parents wanted to be involved in, first legal and ethical issues that come to mind is FERPA. There has to be some privacy and confidentiality when you're talking about students and receiving their education in the least restrictive environment. As far as public schools go, that was another thing that came to mind. Was this a public school? Was this a private school? We never got that information. And obviously parent groups can be way more involved at private schools and can get involved with teacher evaluation and policies, admin evaluations, and the overall school. But at a public school, there's more protections, and there's a Board of Education policy that the school's adopted. There's contract days that are negotiated through the local teachers association, and those teachers are protected by state and national associations as well. There's a negotiated agreement on contract days. This parent organization was wanting teachers to possibly come multiple days to this back to school night before school started, and that obviously brings up some questions on the number of contracted days. And then, another legal and ethical issue on the principal side and this parent organization side is, where was the Board of Education? Where was the superintendent? So synthesizing this information, as I said, it was just clear that there was just a lack of partnership between parents and the principal. The principal felt like he needed absolute control over the academics. The parents wanted more input and control over teachers, admin, policies, procedures, their academics. And there just was no teamwork. For it to get to this point where they formed a new group, left a national affiliation, set up a meeting with the principal, there was obviously a disconnect for years, you would assume, for it to get to this point so fast. They just weren't working as a team. The principal didn't value the parents' opinion and the ownership they have staked in their students. And I don't think the parent organization obviously valued the principal's expertise and his position as an education professional. But again, Board of Education was missing, superintendent was missing, and that proactive communication to prevent this situation from getting to this point was missing. So the synthesis of the parties that we know about, obviously the parent group was formed, there was a president elected, principal of the school was involved, and there was other group members. It didn't really mention details about them, but there were other members present. So we had a school setting. They were in a principal's office. We don't know the level of the school or the location. So we don't know the size. Is it in a city? Is it a rural setting? Is it a high school, elementary school? Those details were all missing. So the programs the teachers brought up, they wanted to be involved in the academics, teacher evaluation, classroom and curriculum activities. They wanted to collect community data by doing surveys for students, teachers, and community members. They wanted to be involved in the principal's performance evaluation, just the overall evaluation of the school. So looking at this information, there's stakeholders obviously involved in this situation. So we have everybody that works at the school would be a stakeholder in this situation: the staff, the admin, parents, students, community members. This parent organization formerly was a member of the PTA. Obviously, the parent of this or the president of this group was heavily involved, our principal, and then you're missing that connection with the Board of Education and superintendent, but I'll get to that. So what do we need to know? First, we need to know where's the superintendent and when is he going to get involved. The principal will eventually, and the options that I give, get in contact with superintendent and the board. Our state and national protection, like I mentioned, we have FERPA, there's IDEA to protect our students with disabilities and their confidentiality from just having this parent group constantly in and out of the school and being hands-on in that manner. There's teachers associations. In Kansas, some of the schools use the E4E teacher evaluation and things that are approved by the Teachers Association. And so parents coming in and getting involved in that would obviously trigger a response from those associations. Like I asked earlier, was this a public school or a private school? That kind of changes the conversation. And what led us to this point? That's what we really need to know. What happened over the course of months or years that led the parents to this point? Why were they wanting to get so involved? Why was the principal so shocked by this? Because he thought he was giving them events to plan and be involved with. He wasn't hearing their voice at some point about wanting to be more involved academically and program-wise. And again, what type of school was it that we were talking about? So option one would just be to agree to their demands. You're in the meeting, say, yes, you guys can plan this school event. Our teachers will show up and give you presentations about their curriculum, about their classroom management. You can do all the surveys to pull the community, students, staff, everybody. We'll bring you in on policy and procedures discussions. We'll let you help with evaluations, perform votes on school policies. We'll let you just be completely hands-on. Some consequences, obviously, again, you're going to have legal issues. The teachers need protected. You're going to lose control of your school and your programming from the education professionals. These parents are passionate, but they're not the experts. And then you have to be able to protect your students and staff best interests. So those would be some major consequences with just agreeing to everything. Option two, you would deny all their demands. Say, no, we're keeping the back to school night as it is. We're not asking teachers to do presentations. We're not giving you 100% clarity on our curriculum and our programming. And then go find a parent to form a new PTA that's affiliated and that you can have a better working relationship with as a principal, and just cut off all communication with this group. Again, major consequences to this. That would damage your reputation as a professional, as somebody willing to work with others. You would possibly lose your job. The superintendent and board wouldn't like this option. Bring a lot of negative attention to the school. And then again, you're getting some legal issues. You're not communicating with parents. You're not being open and honest about what their child's doing at school. So then option three, which this is the option that I'll discuss later, that makes the most sense to me. You want to just, first of all, be very cordial with this group. You want to thank them for their commitment to their students' education and to the school. Parents are very passionate about their schools and their local towns. You want to give them the information that you work with. So you want to give the president of this group the Board of Education policy handbook, the student handbook for the school, the teacher handbook. Give them all the information so they have time to go review that. Ask them to please schedule a meeting with yourself as the principal. I would call the Board of Education president and our superintendent, let them be in on this meeting. And then tell the parent group, please start planning our back to school night. I love your ideas. The parent group wanted the teachers to do presentations. I think that's great if it falls within their contract days. They wanted to discuss parent-teacher conference options and more clarity there. Again, I think that would be great ideas. So I would let the parent group take that right away and let them know that it would be approved by the board, but we will value their opinion and love the ideas they have, because I think they did have great ideas. So consequences of this, the communication lines are now open. You met, you know where that group stands. We're going to bring in district level involvement to protect the principal. So the board will be involved, superintendent will be involved, and everybody's going to be passionate about improving the school. That's what's most important. So student success is going to be happening. There's going to be a growth mindset between the school and this parent group now, because they have some ownership in this back to school night. That'll appease them for time being while we work on these other policies. So how does this option 3 work that I chose? The parent group has to read through all the policies first so they understand the inner workings of the school. They understand contract days, negotiated agreements. But now with the district involved, that protects the principal a little bit. There's more open communication there. The parent group is going to feel like they're being heard. Their voice matters. They are at the district level now with the superintendent and the board and myself as the principal. So it's as high as it can get, and now we're all open and communicating. And they're going to feel some great ownership in being able to plan the back to school night. And again, we stay within the legal issues of the negotiated agreement and teachers' evaluation processes and board policy, and that ownership and that partnership can start. And then with great communication, setting up these meetings, being proactive now, knowing where both groups stand, there's going to be a positive partnership formed. And obviously the principal won't get everything he wants out of this partnership, and the parent group won't get everything they want, because legally they're not going to be involved in teacher and admin evaluation, but their voices can be heard at board meetings about teachers and about principals. But they'll know the legal side of that and how their hands are tied in that regard. So who's involved in this? Obviously, in these groups, you got to have parents in these leadership groups and these school parent forum groups. There should be a staff or admin involved in the group. When they meet, there should be somebody from the school involved to keep that open communication. And we want other community members, business owners, family members, not just parents. Building leadership should be involved again at some capacity. Board of Education needs to be kept in the loop about these meetings. Superintendent, it'd be cool to have a student on these meetings and these committees that I'll discuss on the next slide. And then what a lot of schools doing now with school redesign is hiring, a transition coordinator, a community outreach coordinator. That would be a good person to have involved with this committee too. So I think the committee should form some social or some focus groups, and they would plan school and community events to bring the two parties together. There could be a focus group about curriculum in the classrooms, and a couple teachers, obviously, in this focus group, letting them know what's going on. School evaluation, again, public school, you're probably not going to get as much involvement, but at a private school, there could be a focus group for that. School redesign has showed us that the surveys and data collection are huge with the community. So you would want a focus group that has members of a parent group and school all involved collecting data from all stakeholders. And then how do we get the community in the school? And again, that falls back on the coordinator if you're able to hire that position. As much community and school outreach with internships, work studies, volunteering, finding ways to do all this while following the Board of Education policies. And the biggest key with these focus groups is just finding common ground. Everybody will have clarity on the legal and ethical issues in education, and that the board will have to approve policies, but parents will have a voice. This aligns with Standard 5 because you are dealing with the current and future success in mind. So we're talking about building a successful partnership that benefits the students and gets the community and parents more involved in the school. We're thinking about students and adults. We're trying to protect our teachers while providing students and their families with more clarity, more ownership stakes in the school. And, the bottom line, even if the parents didn't go about this the right way, they're still advocating for the needs of the school and the community and the students, and they want to be involved. So that's a powerful tool for me as a principal in this situation to use. You have that passionate of a group, let's use them for the greater good. And by having those focus groups formed, you're going to have a very diverse group of people that are going to advocate for their community and the diverse populations within the community. By having staff, students, parents, and administrators involved in this group in option 3 in the focus groups, that's going to cultivate a lot of relationships. So thank you for tuning into my presentation. I have the reference slide here on the next one. And like I said, there was a lot of missing information here that would have made this better. But the biggest thing that stuck out to me was clear that the principal was not proactive in providing parents with opportunities to be involved in